Is this even working? Is the mic working though? I don't know if it is. Great. The microphone doesn't want to work. Does it not work till it's 5:55? It is working. Okay, it's just not leveling. It's not showing anything. We got till 4 o'clock. And then we start. Well, there we go. We hear me. So I am live. See, this is the difficult thing. Until I get a chair without arms, it's hard to sit here and actually play because I got these two arms sticking out, so I got to lean forward. It's really an awkward position, especially with the desk in front of me. But I sat down early, so I grabbed a guitar just to do something. Because there's nothing worse than when you're first going live and you have nothing to say and you're waiting for people to kind of jump in. So you're just kind of sitting here, just looking around. What? I didn't think you were doing it. Well, no, because Trevor's in Flagstaff today, so I didn't have a choice. And I figured we'd probably be doing them up to almost the rendezvous. We won't do one the Friday of the rendezvous, which is still a couple of weeks away. There we go. So, but figure we do this till 4 o'clock and just kind of hang in there and all of us get situated. Even though for most of you, you're just listening to me. So it's not like you're trying to get that last drink or smoking. You're just doing whatever. What do you think, Jax? Name that song. Right? And we're almost there. All those disappointed people always say, you need to play the guitar. And it's like, but like I said, I can't really do it and do this because of the arms on the chair. I gotta find an armless chair. Like the story where I almost bought a three-legged dog. His name was George Harrison. And I kept watching him and thinking, he got hit by a train. Good-looking Aussie, but he only had 3 legs. And I thought, man, that's pretty cool. It's a 3-legged dog that got hit by a train. And his name's George Harrison. And I thought, man, that's a story in itself. So I thought, maybe. But then we have the feral dog, and I was worried about any problems because I don't know how well an older three-legged dog would do. I would think he would need just like a forever home with a nice family and not a lot of drama. So the story of George Harrison, and hopefully he's doing quite fine out there in the world. So, but I don't know what happened. I'm pretty sure he got adopted. So we're about ready to roll, aren't we? A minute or two still left. Hello from Ireland. And it's not McCracken. So it's a different Irish person. So I guess that's what you would say, right? Unless they're from Dublin. Are they a Dubliner? A Belfaster? I don't know. Anyhow, the three-legged dog you are almost required to name stupid. Well, I think the shelter named him George Harrison. I think he was a stray, got hit by a train, lost his leg. And the shelters always name the dogs quite strange names. Hence, I have a dog named Dexter. I would not have named the dog Dexter. I try to be imaginative and simpler because you want to be able to say it really fast to get the dog's attention. So Jax's name is Jackson. He goes by Jax. Now, he knows like a child. If I say Jackson, he's in trouble. So there you go. Playing an Irish song called Grace. Well, if I knew an Irish song called Grace, then here's Grace, the Irish song Grace. All right, so we're still not at 4 o'clock, I guess. But yes, I don't know what to do with myself waiting. I hit the live button, and I'd been sitting here for about 15 minutes just playing on the guitar. Hey, it's Kill Gold Prospecting from San Antonio, Texas, where every day is a golden day. And gold is gold. But okay, yeah, there we go. So, but yes, Trevor's in Flag, and I am here just with a dog and a guitar because the other dogs are somewhere else. So it's me, a dog, and a guitar, which is probably the countryside somewhere in the world. And now I'll start. Oh, we're out of time. I can't sing you a song, so I'm done. There we go. So it's 4 o'clock, and I can actually sit normal now. Yes, that was uncomfortable actually to a degree. I was but before, because I didn't really have much to do, I thought I'm going to sit here and see how it feels. See, but I need a chair without arms so I can kind of dig more into that. Anyways, and I actually did in a video we talked about this guitar. This is my Aria AC18, and it has, I don't know if anybody can really see it, but down here you can see where it's glued. There's a crack in the wood. Miguel Bernal, student of Andres Segovia, was my instructor at the time, and I couldn't spend $1,000, $2,000 on a really nice guitar. And this is like 40 years ago. So anyways, so Miguel went in the back and he had this guitar come in and the bridge had cracked and come up. And Miguel said he'd done the repair. It wasn't going to look perfect. It was going to look beautiful. But of course, as you can see, I don't know if you can really tell, it's chipped up and it's a bit beaten up. Anyways, he said that'll last you a lifetime, and it pretty much almost has. So I got it for a song, basically. Panda Express Type of Friday. There's another Chinese place down the road that I really like. Their sweet and sour pork, and they have good the Korean barbecue. Maybe that's what I get when I'm done. Run down there. Anyhow, that's the story. I think I've done that before. It has the pearl tuning pegs. It's a really nice guitar, held up really well. I probably should get a new set of strings strung up on it, but they're such a pain with the nylon strings to string and tie and everything. I'd almost cheat and take it down and have someone string it for me, because I've done this one a few times and it is a pain to get it just right and everything. But I haven't changed those strings for a while. And yet, as you could hear, it still actually has a bit of a live sound. So you should hook up a multicast jam break out my Strat. How do you, how would you even do that possibly? I mean, I'm a man. Look at the amplification I have simply behind me. It would be cool. Trevor can play the drums. There's a drum kit right around the corner outside because it wouldn't fit in the studio. But there is a drum kit and stuff. And me and Tyler and Trevor have actually done some jams. I thought we posted videos of it a long time ago. Tyler was playing the bass, Trevor played drums, and they had me play Green Day. So, but that was a number of years ago. Got new right knee. That's good. Can't make it to the highway thing, but you'll be at the general meeting next week. I'm good to hear, Kim. Man, I hope you can make it. And I didn't finish reading, but I will be ready for the rendezvous. But the rendezvous, all you got to do is get out there, get things set up, and then just sit in a chair. So that's good to hear. I'm glad everything's going well for you. Because I was getting ready to think I needed to call you to see what was going on with you, because I knew you were getting the knee replaced and everything, and I hadn't heard from you. But there's been so much going on, which everybody sit back and say, well, what's been going on? Well, one, we always should kick off the show with this. Finding El Dorado, the new book by Jack Sanfelice. And if this is backwards in the screen, which it probably is, but if it's not, then that's good. But if it's backwards, it actually goes the right way. And this is Jack's new book. You can go to www.jacksanfelice.com, which he sold out the first run. Now he's on his second run, and there it is. Caveat to people, Jack broke it up into several sections. I think there's 7 sections, I think. It does not have chapters, so it is a little different the way it's set up. He has a table of contents, but I think it has some summary stuff. Yeah, there's part 8. I don't know. It's a different organization than his last couple of books, so be prepared for that. But Jack's book is out. This is what it looks like, which is like what looks like the last book, which was Searching for El Dorado, and then it's Finding El Dorado, and now I don't know what the next book would be. So there you go, Jack Sanfelice's book. He will be at the rendezvous. He will be speaking. He will also be raffling off a couple copies of his book signed, and he will be bringing extra books. So if you're not as lucky, you pitch in and get one of those for the raffle, you can always buy one from Jack, and he'd be more than happy to personalize and sign it. I'm sure he would. I don't think Jack would not anything to that. Other things, dang, that was a funk. Anyways, one of the other things, this was very cool. I picked it up at the museum. Lost Mines and Buried Treasures of the West by Probert. It was very nice, hardbound copy. It was sitting up on the shelf. It covers the Lost Dutchman and a lot of stuff, but it was a book. I think I might have a new edition of it. This is a first edition hardcover, but it was sitting down at the museum, and I turned to Greg Davis, and he said, "Man, that thing's worth $150, and it wasn't being sold for that by the museum, so I purchased it immediately. I had it in my hand, and it never left my left hand from there on in. So there's that. Of course, I don't have to say anything about, and I hope everybody can hear me after I banged the mic. I didn't disconnect anything, but because you guys aren't saying anything. But anyways, the rendezvous is November 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Gates should be open by noon. There will be some people out there, members of the Dons and stuff. Please make sure when you drop down the hill between the bathrooms and the lower camp, off to the left is usually the host site. Please, if you get there a little early and my truck isn't there yet, please leave that spot for me, because it's where Joe Roboto, myself, and others have been. There's your Halloween is your birthday, October 31st. That is when Halloween is, October 31st. What's better than a leap year birthday? Where you gotta I guess that'd be kind of cool though. So anyways, so that's being done with all that. We had to do the Dutchman Memorial Monument cleanup in Apache Junction last Saturday, which was interesting. We went to do it, and when we were gathering together, 4 Dons showed up. David Hurst, Greg Davis, myself, and Trevor. Your pyramid stone on the shelf, is it light grayish stone? It's very light. It's more of a tan. Anyways, there it is. What is the worst time of the year for rattlesnake troubles in the superstition trails? Anytime in the evening and nights during the summer. That's the worst time because at night is when they really come out in droves. But you'll see rattlesnakes out there 365 days a year. If it's snowing, you might get lucky, but I've run into rattlesnakes year round. They do not hibernate. So get rid of that thing there. All right. Anyhow, as I was saying, we went out to do the monument. We had to do a cleanup. There was about a 12-foot cactus that had died. So we get out there. The mayor of Apache Junction ships out there. But David Hurst, myself, Greg Davis, Trevor, and about 100, 110 people show up. And we're like, oh, this is cool because we got lots of help. They're doing like 4 or 5 different sites, and we'll have a lot of help. And we'll get this done pretty quick and all. And we were looking at it because I figured if we tied off the saguaro, the dead saguaro, we could drop it, pull it, drop it, and then get it in the truck rather than try to cut it out and leave the base of it in. We could just pull the whole thing out. And we're standing there talking, looking at it and looking at all these people. And there's this gentleman, homeless gentleman, had been sleeping on a bench about 40 yards away. And he got up, walked over, and it's so funny because he walking across, and he walks in front of us, and he reaches down. There was this rock that had been displaced, and he picked it up. And I made the comment to the others. He couldn't hear me, but I said, oh, that's cool. Look, he's going to help out too. He's going to put that rock back there. So he goes and jumps up on the monument and begins to beat the Dutchman part of the sign. There on the top, there's a cutout of the Dutchman and his burrow and stuff. And he starts beating the Dutchman, which Greg Davis then begins running at him, yelling, stop, stop. His hat came off. Greg's running, and I'm like, holy crap. Well, the guy jumped down and headed for Greg, and then they stopped. And at that moment, I realized the gentleman who was 6'4" and about 250 pounds had the rock in his hand. And Greg is there almost nose to nose. And I realized, well, I got to step up there. So I walked up, and I do not know what said. Greg and the others said there was a lot of talk, but all I focused on was the guy's right hand with the rock, which was about the size of a grapefruit. Because I thought if he raises his arm, he goes to clock. Greg's not getting out of the way. So I stood there and thought, okay, if I see his arm move up, I'm going to just hook into his arm so he can't swing it, and then kind of get him to separate. And Greg was like holding his ground. And then Trevor and David Hurst, Chip the mayor, and someone from Park and Rec stepped up. And then it kind of de-escalated once there was 4 or 5 of us. And one of them must have run into him before because they said something, and the guy just kind of walked back over to his bench. Then they talked to us. They called the police, Apache Junction's finest. They came out. The first cop showed up. She walked up and asked what happened. We told her. She looked over and said, yeah, he's a problem. And so we all kind of held back till there was 4 or 5 more officers, and then they walked over to talk to him. And then he decided he would fight the 4 or 5 officers. And then next thing we know, they were on the ground and took forever to get him, but they got him. He was a big boy. And so they got him, detained him. And then, of course, because it was a historic monument and he damaged that and I don't think Greg asked to press charges on the assault or anything. The strangest moment in it all, if that wasn't strange enough, is we're all standing there, was the guy kept calling us Judes, Judes. And I don't know what Judes are, but he was really angry about Judes. So anyways, all that occurred and happened. And then we went to work on the monument, and everybody went into a different group, but our group, and they took off. And then it was just me, David Hurst, Greg, and Trevor. But we did get everything cleaned up. It looks really good. The damage was minimal. We'll have to grind off, clean it up, and respray the upper part, and there's a little bit of mortar work to do, so we'll be doing that. After that, which we went by the museum where I picked up my book, and then we stopped by to see Ron Feldman. Jesse was there, so me and Ron and Jesse and Greg and Trevor was there, so we'll include him. But yeah, we all sat around and talked. Then Greg took off while I was talking to Jesse. Jesse had to take off, and then me and Ron sat around for a while and talked. And it was good to see Ron. He just got back into town, so it was very cool catching up with him for a bit. I really like Ron. Ron is an individual, has no filter, but he's very honest and straightforward. But you can disagree with him, and if he thinks you're just disagreeing with him because you believe differently, I don't think Ron has a problem. So it was a very complimentary, just nice thing. And I've known them for so long. I met Ron many years back in the 80s, and which he wouldn't remember, but I do remember. But yeah, it was nice to see them and catch up with everybody. I think that was about it. Oh, we saw Jack Olson, the photographer, does all the photography stuff you see on Facebook and stuff. So we saw Jack too. Don't want to leave old Mr. Jack Olson out. So it was a very cool day doing that, and so that was a nice thing, and that was pretty much like kind of getting started for the Dons and stuff. A little disappointing, only 4 of us showed up. But we got nifty yellow shirts that are bright, so you can work on the side of the road in traffic, I guess, and stuff. We all wore our red Don shirts, and then we had to cover them up with the yellow shirts, which was cool. But long sleeve, good for the sun. That kind of where you sweat and it kind of stays cool stuff. So it was kind of nice. Oh yes, and I forgot. Today it is 88 degrees. Yeah, we've been sitting around 88 to 90 degrees right now, so it's really nice. It's sunny. Oh no, it's a little hazy right now. It was really sunny earlier, but we're staying in that kind of that temperature area. I know it's supposed to drop a little and come back up a little. So probably around the Rendezvous, we'll still be around in 85 to 90 degrees, I would hope, and still clear and so forth. So there we go. That was that occurrence. Did I mention Jack Sanfelice's book's out? There we go. And it is Friday the 13th. There you go. And we're in our Halloween havoc. I was thinking of a better name, like Stupid Shit. Yeah, sometimes it feels like it. But I try to display it and come off as serious as possible and all that. But yeah, we did that last October. We're doing it this October. We've only had one person that kind of thought it was a waste of time. But the video he said that on got 12,000 views, which was actually pretty decent for a video about reptile people. And so I decided that, yeah, we'll continue to do that. We'll have to pull outside stories. We got a couple, 2 or 3 more to do till the end of the month. So, and I know 2 of them. One of them I'm thinking about. It's more falling back into the Dutchman stuff, and then we probably have to cut 4 because I really don't want to come back in or have to worry about cutting a video during the Rendezvous weekend and dealing with all of that. Jack's Bot goes past the content from his prior. It's a rewrite of the prior book. It's kind of a rewrite. There's stuff. I don't even know how to describe it. I thought about doing a video of a review on it like I did with Ron's and Jesse's, and I've done that with other people's. It's different. The setup's different, and I don't know how to kind of approach it, except it doesn't really have chapters. It's kind of opinion speculation. And it's kind of different take on everything. So I read the new book twice, very familiar with it now. I'm going to go back and read the old book once because it was structured very, very different. And there's stuff missing. There was a couple sections, kind of the end at the Silver Chief Pit Mine, where he's talking about his various trips there. What he was willing to talk about, that was fine because Randy Wright got in there a number of different times for some stuff. There were a few other things I was familiar with I wasn't sure about, but no, it's different. It's because of the setup. So I had to read it a couple times, but it looks like the same book, but it's very different, and it's more of Jack talking about his opinion and speculating on things. So it's different. You'll get a little different perspective from Jack and his belief. And it primarily deals with everything kind of like outside of the 2 soldier stuff. It generally seems to come back to the Silver Chief Pit Mine theory, which is what I'll call it. That's the nice way to put it. Also, additionally, just got off the phone earlier, a couple hours ago, with the guys from the production company, History's Greatest Mysteries, with Lawrence Fishburne and all that stuff. And that's supposed to come out season 5 in January. So we'll get really built up on it. I have a bunch of stuff concerning it, but I'm kind of waiting till it gets closer to kind of promote it more. but they contacted me again about some, different stuff and all. It sounds really good. Of course, it's out of the control of everybody. Eventually, it's almost at its final stage. So what will happen to it will be out of a lot of people's hands that I'm talking to, but they've been really good people and they've done a really nice job with it so far. The information they're getting, and when we get closer, I won't kind of break down what they're doing because I know pretty much how the show's running. We've talked a lot about it, but I'll give a little insider thing of my trip and working with them and so forth. Diamondbacks and Phillies this week. Woohoo! What's woohoo, man? I'm from Chicago. It just sucks to be me. Sucks to be me in a lot of ways, man. Hopefully the Blackhawks got something going this year. It's cold and it suddenly warms up. Snakes like to lay in the sun in December, January. No, do not keep the perception. Snakes will lay out in the sun if they want to get the sun in the middle of July in the afternoon. Everything everyone always thinks about rattlesnakes, you should dismiss. Just understand they're very dangerous, and you should always be on the lookout and watch where you put your hands and feet and where you step, because they are constant. They do not hibernate. They will always possibly be out, and just that's the way it is. So, but most of the rattlesnakes you will run. If you want to run into a lot of snakes, go out during the spring, the summer, and early in the fall out here in the evenings and at night, because that's when you'll be. Sandberg, that mine too, man. I liked rhino, man. That was when I was growing up. I grew up, and I was a big fan of people like Rick Ruschel, Manny Trio, Ivan DeJesus, a lot of older Cubs, obviously, Ron Santos, and Ernie Banks, Billy Williams. But yeah, Rhino was, I remember when he came in third base, I was like, who's this new guy for Sandberg? And then, of course, he became pretty much synonymous with second base. So great. Greetings from Prescott. There we go. So, yeah, Sandberg. Always loved my Cubbies. I don't know what they're doing anymore. I don't know. They kind of like poofed out there at the end of this year. So good for the Diamondbacks and their fans and so forth. They seem to have a pretty good, healthy team. I think this is going to be a good series with the Phillies because they seem to be two good, solid teams. And I'm sorry if you're from Los Angeles, but anytime the Dodgers get eliminated, I'm fine with that. So there we go. So we got in baseball, we got in Jack's book, we got in the Rendezvous, got in the Dutchman monument story there of and whatnot. We got a lot of information in, and we're just kind of rolling on through. And I've gotten it all in pretty much a short period of time. So there we go. I saw some headline about the Apache Trail. Yeah, but I don't know. They put out a thing about these 4 or 5 different versions and how much it was going to cost and stuff, and hybrids and different things, and I have no idea. I have a feeling they're just going to keep putting it off. I don't look for it to get fixed anytime soon. Did you see the new Bigfoot video from the train in Colorado? I actually did see that. It did pop up on a feed I was watching, and I was like, huh, and then I was like, okay. What was the joke? I was just telling someone this week, there's nothing funnier than the atheist that believes in Bigfoot. I'll dismiss God, but I'll believe in a big hairy creature in the woods. Cheers to you, then. So the skeptic in me runs everywhere. So one of the things I've been looking at, and there's a really cool YouTube site. I know I shouldn't be sending people elsewhere, but it's called BuzzFeed, and it's paranormal and unsolved paranormal. And they quit doing them, but they do like these different things, and it's pretty funny stuff. But one guy's just a total skeptic, doesn't believe in anything, and then the other guy really believes in stuff. And Bigfoot saw me, but nobody believes him. There you go. That's exactly. Cheers to the Sasquatch. Yeah, cheers to the Sasquatch and the guy on the train. But anyways, yeah, I saw that video. I just happened to catch that. It was a very brief. Yeah, I remember it was from the train in Colorado. Hey, Jackson, you decided to join us this afternoon. Okay, good boy. Okay, you need a bath. You do need a bath. Yeah, you've been playing in the dirt way too much. So there we are with that. We're kind of running. Have you met Elvis Presley? I have not met Elvis Presley. No, I haven't met Elvis Presley. Yeah, always a story with everything. But there was a kid in our neighborhood that when Elvis died fell apart. We were all like 12, 13, and it was like traumatic for him. And we were all like, what? Because, by that point, Elvis was not Elvis. If you're if you were born in probably the 30s or 40s, it's a different Elvis, even the 50s. But yeah, we were kind of like Elvis Presley, the guy in Vegas. Yeah, he's okay. We knew some of the songs, but it's a whole different thing to us. And I was always a Chuck Berry guy. I want those amps. You're a gearhead. I don't got that many amps. There's only maybe 6 or 7 around. Um, I'm a believer, even though they probably all pretty much sound the same, that amps tend to. I always think they sound different, and you can't basically power up a half stack and make it sound good recording wise. So I have smaller Marshalls. I have 3 smaller Marshalls, a couple smaller Fenders. I got the Line 6. I got a Vox. I wonder, where is the Vox? Oh no, the Vox is in the other room because I've been playing with that. And the Vox is an AC30, so I like different types. One of my favorite amps of all time was the Twin Reverbs, the old Tweeds. I liked those. Can you tell the story about the briefcase or whatever that was behind the old station at Florence Junction? Well, nobody knows where it is. There was supposedly a drug deal that went bad, and there was, I don't think it was a briefcase. It was like a camera case of some sort, and it was never recovered, and it was supposed to have a couple $100,000 in it. But this is way, 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 way back. And we went out and we filmed. I don't think we ever put that video up. We went out and searched a number of areas where reputedly it was be. The area with the gas station is where the newer runway is, and that's not the area it happened in. So we had enough information. We went out and kind of really checked into it. Frank kind of covered the flat ground, and then I went up into the foothills and stuff and was climbing around looking at nooks and crannies to see, and yeah, nothing ever came of it. So I have a feeling somebody found it and they weren't going to say anything, and it was back there. Are your dogs trained to avoid rattlers or snakes in general, or only 7 amps twin reverbs is great? I don't know. They've never bothered with one. I don't think dogs know better than to get around snakes. Yeah, maybe you have a little poodle around the house or a chihuahua that's never been outside or outdoors in the desert. But most dogs naturally, they're pretty good at smelling and noticing them. The reason I think a lot of people would train the dogs, one of the old methods was take a dead rattlesnake, tie it around the dog's neck, and let them hate the smell of the snake. And then anytime a snake's anywhere near, then the dog would always alert you, which is a pretty good idea, except your dog's going to smell like dead snake for a while. Generally, as a rule, I don't think I've ever done that with any of my dogs, and I've never had a problem with any of my dogs. So there you go. Jerseys, dogs wouldn't last a day, that's for sure. The supers, jerseys. I don't know what jerseys dogs. Jersey dogs. I don't know. Anyways, and Jax was born on a ranch, so from the time he was a puppy, they didn't. Well, they had a place that they kind of had a kennel they kept them in when they were real little, but they ran loose on the property of the corrals and stuff, so they learned real quick to avoid the horses and stuff, and not to wander off in the desert and stuff. Stuck by mom and dad, and they had an aunt there that went around and they watched him. But Jax is, yeah, he's a ranch dog. So was Jake before him. So he's been out, and I've had him loose up in the mountains, and never a problem or anything. He listens. He kind of watches his distance, stays close by. Now, I don't know about Dexter because he still can't put a leash on him. It's been 2 years. He does wear a collar now, and Rocky's a doofus. So I don't know. Rocky, who knows what would go on with him. So he's not that dog. So he's the lovable, playful, pettable, cuddle dog, and Jax is the working dog. and Dexter was supposed to be my mountain dog. And my mountain dog, if I took my mountain dog out in the mountains, I'd never see him again. So that was kind of. What is your favorite color? I don't know. I don't know. Clear. Okay. Um, Horses are not afraid of snakes. Horses are stupid. I know Jesse had a problem with one of his horses. They'll stick their nose down in a snake and the snake will bite them. But horses don't know how to breathe through their mouths generally, and it causes a big problem. Their nostrils will swell shut, and they can have a lot of problems. I know. I don't think he lost the horse, but Jesse had a problem with one of his horses with that. Dogs out of the old choya is the hardest. Yeah, and then there's the dogs that don't know how to stay out of choya, and that's kind of like a big problem too. Yeah, dogs are interesting. Some dogs, when you get a dog, my dogs I usually always take in the truck, and they spend a lot of time with me when they're younger, and I make sure they imprint well. But then some breeds are smarter than other breeds. And sometimes you think dogs are really smart, but they're kind of silly and stupid when you take them out. And Peralta Road Lights guy, what's the Peralta Road Light? Oh, I haven't heard from that guy. No. So I haven't heard from him because, see, I was thinking when I did the last two stories, I'd hear from both people. And I fully expected them to kind of get back with me. I think we've done 2 videos in October, and I expected both of them to get back with me. And I didn't really notice that they kind of like tuned into the video, even though I let them know. Do you know Daryl Lane? I don't know. That's related to Bud Lane. I know who Bud Lane was. He was friends with Tom, but that's Lane. Other than Bud Lane, the Packer, worked out at the Quarter Circle U for a while. I don't know any other Lanes. Anyways, there you go. So my favorite color is clear, and some dogs are not smart enough to stay out of the cactus. Hey, Bud, are you smart enough to stay out of the cactus? Jackson, hey, what you doing? Are you smart enough to stay out of the cactus? Are you? Are you a good boy? Yeah. So I would always suggest, if people want trail dogs and good dogs out there, Aussie Shepherds, Border Collies, hey, Rock, and then the Aussie cattle dogs are really good dogs. I had one out, and it was a really tough dog. Those are strange dogs, though, sometimes, but they can be really smart, very loyal. Hey, Rock. Yeah, what you doing, huh? We're live, so you got to go. Why are you breathing so hard, man? You get too excited about that stuff. Hey, Dex. You coming in, Dex? Hey, Dexter. Okay, well, anyways, we can't move. Yeah, that was Dexter. At least he made a noise. He's up and excited about something. Anyways, yeah. So now we're gonna start banging around the room and stuff and be a bunch of idiots. Yeah. Okay. So anyhow, getting back to this, he's a real character, great prospector, would be a good guest. Well, we don't really. I'm thinking about the Rendevous. See if some people want to do some interviews and do some guests, and then see how those videos do. Trevor says the website does really well, and YouTube, which I say, well, we do about 1,000 views, 1,000 to 1,500 views a video. And Trevor said, yeah, but the overall numbers every week is pretty large. And he said it just keeps growing and getting bigger and bigger. So I was like, okay. And it's an honest growing. We don't put any money into it, so it's very cool. Never know when it's going to blow up. Then I'm just going to be like done with it, because if it became, you imagine. I don't want to hire people. I like answering, checking the likes, doing everything myself to some degree. I can't imagine the people that have like 20 million subscribers and 10, 12 million views and all the comments. You can't go through it all. That would just literally be a full-time job, and I don't know what's up with that. No. What's the best treasure you've ever found? I think I would have to say at this point, because there's been really cool stuff. But finding all those silver dollars and stuff at Burns Ranch, because whether it was Bob Ward or Henry Burns and those jars of coins, that was very cool because it connected to an actual story at the actual site and kind of fit the timeline and everything. So that was very cool. Are you taking Jack out to the spiral? Jack can't make it out to the spiral right now. I'm sure he's been out there with a couple of the other guys, Carlson and some Greg Davis and some of them at one point in time. I don't think Jack has any interest that he couldn't go down in the spiral. He couldn't really And the walk out there through the brush and stuff, Jack's not in any shape to do that. So if you're talking Jack San Felice, Jack's ventures in the mountains are over. So I think he could do hieroglyphic trail. He might be able to do something nice and easy, but I think Jack's days of wandering in the mountains, and he had a good, what was it, maybe 25, 30-year run. So I always feel very blessed, though that's not a word I like to use, that I had a good 50-year. Oh, Jack Carlson. Carlson's been out there. I know Carlson's been out there with other guys, with Greg Davis, and then Carlson's been out. He didn't have a lot of interest in it, but Jack's been out there. And we've talked quite a bit about it. So, yes. So, in fact, no, it was someone else I was calling, because I was going to say I haven't talked to Jack for a couple of weeks. So, but he said he would be at the Rendevous, so I'm hoping he'll break out and come out, because it's been a few years since we've seen him. And I really like Jack. Jack is a real level-headed, kind of straightforward guy. Hate to see those guys getting old. They're irreplaceable. Well, and it's the guys that I'm not gonna. We can't rate one person or say one person over the other, but it's like Tom, who had probably 70 years in the mountain, and Clay's pretty similar. And Ron's been out there for about 60 years, and so has Shoes. It's the guys that grew up into the mountains and spent so much time. That's the guys, to me, always, it kind of means the most. Greg Davis a bit, because his uncle took him out there when he was younger and he got involved in the mountains. But there's a little different connectivity there. To some degree, I know Jack San Felice loves the mountains, and Jack Carlson really got into that stuff, and that's all cool and good. They're my friends and all that. But yeah, it's sometimes different when it's someone that has that connectivity for like a lifetime. Because the mountains also mean a little something different. They're part of, I guess they're kind of integrally part of your life, most of your life. But yeah, it's the guys you miss. I got the memories and stuff, but I miss, talking to them. And that's one of the things I noticed comes up in a lot of discussions Ron and I had, and Greg and I had this week, was about the guys. Hey, squeaky toy thing's kind of annoying when I'm being heartfelt here, Well, I know you got a fox. Well, that's cool. But anyways, it's kind of like I find we talk a lot about how the guys are, they're gone, and it's just like you wish you could talk to them one more time. All the time you had with them, you just wish there was a little more time, some other things, and some of it is just to be able to sit back and listen to them and just talk about a lot of other things. Like I've talked in the past with Tom, you could talk about just about anything, and it was always a good conversation. He was fun to talk to. I mean, I'll never forget Frank sitting down, and it was me, Tom, Keith Furland, and we're sitting around, and Frank got really into it and sat down and got right in it. And we were just talking about Fender Stratocasters and Telecasters, and Frank, after a few minutes, looked at all of us like we were crazy, got up and left. We spent another hour talking about that stuff. But that was a great conversation, with Tom and all that. Good afternoon, brother. Just got here, and I'll stay a while. Well, that's good. What did Tom think about the psychology of Dutch hunters? That's one thing that me and him did talk about. If you knew Tom, and when you read Tom's books, you'll notice Tom was the kind of person who said that's the story that we know. And Tom had a very kind of matter-of-factly, he wasn't kind of the flowery kind of guy. Yes, this must be it and stuff. Tom did that as gags on people and stuff. I know he did one to Greg once where he told him, I don't even know if there is a lost Dutchman. I think the whole thing could be just a scam and all. Just blew Greg's mind. Tom spent all that time looking for it and involved in writing books. And then Tom was going, it's just a bunch of BS. But Tom had a good sense of humor. But Tom was very matter of fact, and when you read his books, you get a sense of kind of how he saw things. He really liked, much like Clay and Shoes, I think Ron has a soft spot too for all these old timers and guys that searched for the lost Dutchman. And, it's just kind of, and I kind of get it. There's a respect factor because these guys, you got to remember, guys that lived in the mountains, lived, ate, and breathed the superstitions, not just finding treasure, but that kind of thing. So I really think the Dutchman trail found Dutchman what? Dutchman had found an old Spanish cache. What? It was golden ore though. Okay, well, anyways, did Revis read him meet Walt? Heard a story. Well, that was Jim Bark said that. That kind of emanated from Jim Bark, who knew Revis, and he'd also met Waltz. And I don't know how familiar he was with Waltz and what they ever talked about. There's not a lot. We'd have to find Jim Bark's good day notes of his notes to find out how deep that goes. And that's something that's with the Spangler family, and we have no idea what's in that. That's something that's never been shared. But as far as Revis, yeah, Bark knew Revis, and Revis had come by, and Bark got familiar with him before he died. And there's a lot of information on Revis, so they could have crossed paths. You don't know. He makes a good story, and that's what's most important sometimes when you're reading a book or watching television is being entertained, right? So I think it would have come through Box Canyon. Well, I mean, you don't know where he was coming through in the groceries and Silver King in different places. He was pretty much doing much hard walk mining. No, I only can go one night to the Rendezvous. What night would you recommend? Well, it depends if you're going to leave by 10 or 11, then come Saturday night. Friday night's more chill, sitting around the campfire. Never know exactly what's going to transpire if you come out Saturday and you're there for Saturday night. The guest speakers and everything kind of holds and happens then. And then we break usually off to have campfires and stuff afterwards. So if you stay later, you'll get to sit around the campfire with everybody and share that, which sometimes the campfires are kind of sometimes they're just mind-blowingly good. And it just all depends on everybody's mindset, their mood, whether they have to leave, and certain different things. But yeah, there was many a years we would sit around after the guest speakers, which used to be Fridays, but now they're Saturdays. But we sat around Saturday night, and you got to just think it's just it's Tom Collenborn and Clay Wurst and Bob Schuess and Ron Feldman and Greg Davis and Jack Carlson. Jack Sanfelice never really hung around us much in the evening around the campfire. I think Jack usually had a ride and they left, because I don't remember Jack sharing in that. But yeah, Schuess sitting there, Salvador Delgadillo, Rick Gwynn would hang out late night, and God, some of those Jesse Feldman, Ron never did. Josh didn't do much, but Jesse always did. Jesse would stay late and drink with us. And there are times it was 1, 2 in the morning and we were still going. Guest speakers are done by 8, 9 o'clock. 2 in the morning, we're still going, talking and having a good time. So that's always Saturday now is the Friday. And I'd always tell people come out Saturday night, because that's when most everybody comes in. Camp will definitely fill up probably about 4 or 5 o'clock, start filling up of everybody that just comes in for that. That's when Ron and Jane Feldman, Josh and his wife, I can't remember what her name is, I'm sorry. But a lot of people will roll in for that time period in there. And like Frank, I don't know if Frank's going to camp out this year. He's been more coming out, spending the day with us and stuff, and hanging around camp all day and then leaving. Woody will be staying out with us. So Woody will be there and he'll be camping out and stuff. I got him bringing his prospecting gear, and he'll be working. Anybody wants to work with him on prospecting, share stories, or look at Woody's techniques and so forth. Woody will be there and have a nice setup. I think he said he's going to donate a rocker box for the raffle too. So we got Jack's books and this and that. Trying to get other people to pitch some more stuff in, but should be some really cool stuff. We always do. So there you go. I sometimes wonder if Jacob Waltz actually found high-grade gold and told the water. Well, they had the gold, so that's part of it. The gold was there. So, I mean, you have to take that as there was actually gold when he died. And he lived very simply, and he told a story of how he got it, which there was no reason to lie. And so there's a cache of it, a larger cache, still in the mountains. He'd lived off and sent his sister all the other stuff. So I don't see a reason, purpose why when people think it was the murder aspect. What murder aspect? I don't think he might have killed someone in his travels and stuff. Because back in the day, if you're believing the nephew story, I think that's BS. If you're believing all these his partner or anything like that, it's BS. The two guys at the mine they thought were Apaches, and they shot them, and then realized they were Mexicans with Peralta. That could have happened, but I think you're talking about a different time and how things were. I think the only reason that would have affected him slightly if they were the people that were out there with them previously. He kind of got to know them, and then he realized, oh crap, I ended up shooting that guy. He was a pretty good guy. He has a wife and kids. So, but yeah, murder aspects. Yeah, and I don't think Waltz was a drunk. I don't think he ran around town bragging about his gold. I don't think hundreds of people were trying to follow him. I think that's all embellishment after he died. Because when you read the first articles, they don't get his name right. It's just all over the place. And it's not till Julia had kind of gone out searching and really wasn't getting anywhere, and she started to talk to other people, that the word started getting out. Because even Jim Bark says he'd heard something about it, but there was nothing really succinct about it. And then once I think Julia and Reinhardt and Herman and Godfrey, it kind of like that kind of situation blew up a bit. I think Julia started looking for someone that could help her because she realized she was getting nowhere spinning her wheels, and she didn't have the others with her at that time. So I think, and it's very interesting because when they initially went in, and then the four, well, it was Reinhardt and her at first, and then it was Reinhardt, her, Herman, and Godfrey, and then they actually broke off up in some different areas prospecting. Albert Schaefer was with them. So it was very interesting that Albert seemed to kind of roll with the Petrashes a bit. And then later, Albert stayed and was just with Julia. And then Reinhardt ended up at Globe after traveling around a little bit. Herman ended up down back near the Superstitions, working for various ranches, Barkley, Fraser. And then Godfrey kind of wandered around a bit and then became incapacitated and kind of started to lose his mind. I think it was just old age and stuff. And back then, when you were older and weren't doing well, they put you in homes, pioneers' homes, and those were really not very nice places. And I think that just everything went out of control for him. Tuning in from Music City. Good stories. Thank you, Jules. Who goes by Artful Flowers, it looks like. Okay. Do we know what trails out of the ATM? Well, the Quarter Circle U was there, the Bark Ranch, which was the Marlowe Ranch before that. The one to the left of the miners was, well, I think people followed the path of least resistance. So everyone has their ideas of the military trail. The military, whoever the commander was, whoever was leading a group through, would follow whatever route they were familiar with, or the scout or person who was leading them. So it could depend year by year of who was doing that or what any given which time. So I would think that was always an ever-changing thing, which was one of the confusing aspects. I think Waltz was looking at things from his perspective in his time, but we have to remember it had been 10 years since he'd been to the mine, according to him. So how much had changed and how many other things had transpired. So if you're talking to someone out at Fort McDowell after Waltz had died, that person probably is only familiar with the last 3, 4 years, 5 years. You'd have to find a scout or someone from 15, 20 years ago. Chances are he's not around anymore to kind of like roll that up and then find out what paths or trails. And then it just depends which person. I know there's various different ways you can go in and out through the mountains, and different ways are tried and true. So that's all, it's all conjecture of what actually is a military trail, because I think the military used different paths through the mountains. I saw a video that gave a pretty good evidence like that Walt's mine was on our end. Was on near Music Mountain. I don't know. I never really, not much on Music Mountain. And I have my own theories and stuff, what I think, and I go by the historical documentation, journals, diaries, and where you find gold. Do you like cats? Jax, do you like cats? No? You don't like those cats? No cats allowed? There's a couple cats that come hang around. I've had a couple cats in my life, but very few. I'm not a cat person. I'm a dog person. So I like my dogs. I like working dogs, and I like that. So Frank's a cat person. Frank is very much a cat person. So Frank's a cat person. I'm a dog person, which tells you that cats and dogs can coexist. There you go. Well, did the Dons blaze the Peralta Trail, or was it already? There was a kind of a trail road through there, and the Dons had to make it so cars and buses and everything could come through. You can find it back in the day that the pathway was there. It was not very good. It took a lot of cleanup and a lot of stuff. We'll probably talk a little about that at the rendezvous and stuff. I got a good piece of Don's history. I worked on a lot of the roles of the Dons and a lot of the history of the Dons, and I got a pretty good grasp of everything they did. And I'll probably bring some stuff out so people can kind of see kind of stuff and kind of how all that stuff transpired. But the Dons after 1934 would have been the first trek, which was at First Water, and we will do a video of that site and everything concerning with that this year. And then the next year, because the parking situation and traffic, First Water Road was really bad, but Peralta Road looked like it could be better. They spent a lot of time looking and couldn't come up with a perfect site. William Linsby, who had a house and a ranch there, said, "Hey, you can be on my property and do this in here." So they started working on the road improvements because the other problem was still parking. And the idea was the Dons came up with is you buy your tickets and you get to ride a bus, and then the bus drops you off, and the buses can bring people out. That's why when you go to the Dons camp, you realize, okay, they can hold 2,000 people, and you're going to have at least 100 to 200 people working the event. Where did all these cars park? Because that's an amazing amount of vehicles that were out here. And what it was the Dons, you went down someplace and you got your ticket. And then you got on the bus took you out, you did trek, and then you got on the bus and it brought you back in town. So the amount of traffic going in and out of the Dons camp was much more minimal. And that was the idea. That was the reason they had to really improve the road, was for the buses. But the road was there for a long time. You can see traces of it back to the 30s, because something everybody forgets about is there were a lot of ranches around. Now, the Quarter Circle U was the older ranch, the Cavanis Ranch, which went to Marlowe and then went and ended up with Jim Bark and then later Barkley. But that's weird when the landline rings, because landlines never ring. And it's a telemarketer, right? But anyways, Linsby had the house there. Adam Stewart had a place there up in Peralta Canyon, Willow Canyon. And there was a number of shacks. When I was a kid, there was still some of the remains of the shacks and the camps that had been around there. So you got to remember there was a lot of other people in the area and stuff. So there were roads, they just weren't very good. But it's like I said, you could drive a Model A, Model T to Choyatek at one time, because even in the mountains, they had a lot of the trails worked as roads. And it's amazing because you look at one of those cars and go, how the hell did they pull that off? Somebody today with a Jeep would be lucky if they were given permission to do it. And those people did it with those old cars and vehicles. And it's just pretty wild and amazing. But you could see the pathways where people went through. And that's why we got names in the mountains like Transmission Gap, because that's where a lot of transmissions went out. And as a kid, you would find beat up pieces of automobiles back in the mountains where people had taken vehicles too far. All right, so let's go. Blaze the road. Okay, well, who is Charles Huckabee? Huckabee, and why does he claim he found it? Because he said he found it, and he wrote a book about it. And it's Huckabee. It's up on my shelf somewhere. That's his claim to fame. I mean, you can write a book. So there you go. How many people usually attend the rendezvous? It can be anywhere from 100, 150. Around 150 can be up as high as 300. COVID kind of knocked the numbers down, but we've had a pretty good attendance the last few years through COVID. We never went under 100 people, which was amazing. I was really shocked through COVID that we still had a full-blown rendezvous and everything. But we cut out the chili during that time because we wanted to kind of make sure people who needed to feel comfortable could feel comfortable in that aspect. So I think we got up one year around 350 or more. And it got a little ridiculous because at that time it was just me and Randy Wright. Now it's just pretty much me with Trevor helping. And I know a lot of people kick in and stuff, but it's a lot of people to kind of manage in a place that we really don't have rules and stuff. And that's one of my worries is this year's the 19th, next year will be the 20th. I want to kind of do certain things and promote it more, but then the problem becomes I have to get some reliable through the Dons to support and bring in some help because it is a Don sponsored event. It's through the Dons of Arizona. So it has to actively, it's not just everybody willy-nilly can just like, we have our own little committee. I'm a member of the Dons. I have the gate keys and stuff, and so is Greg. And it's a Dons event, so it's very much in the Dons kind of line of things. And I'm trying to make more of it with the Dons. We have more and more Dons coming out, but it would require, I mean, just think, let's think of Trek. How many people it took to do Firefall, how many people it took to feed 2,000 people, how many people had to do the short, the medium, and the long trek hikes, how many people had to be there to do the pageant, the Dutchman story, how many people had to work with the crews to do everything else. You had sound groups and lighting groups, and then you had to have people that were working around with all the concessions and the jewelry sales and the other things and stuff. So you're talking, for Trek itself with a couple thousand people, you probably had the 40 Dons, but we had lifetime Dons members known as Hildaggos, and they all kicked in. They were all pretty much active Dons. So it's you add them in. So say there's 25 of them. So now you got 65 because the Doñas was a very active part of the Dons, the women's side. So then you had 120, 130 people actively, and maybe not everybody's there. And then we had the amigos and amigas, which were people who were friends that were not active members that would always help and associate. And so when you add all that in, there was a lot of people. If I sometimes should bring in, it's a big file of just a trek and the list of who's doing what and the order things need to be done in. And I'm sure each group had another file unto itself. So that is always the problem. And I remember Randy Wright, myself, and Tom Collenborn discussed that one night of like, because Tom was doing his article in the paper and helping promote. And I was like, thank you so much. But what comes problematic is two things. Let me clear my throat. One, the Dutch hunters will shy away when it becomes too much the general public. What makes the rendezvous very, very cool is the names I said earlier of the people I'd sit around the campfire with. So you get an opportunity to be with people who have far more knowledge than most of us will ever know. And getting the chance, think about it, getting the chance to sit and just listen to Clay Worst talk and listening to Tom Collenborn and hearing people and their stories and their thoughts and being able to run things by them. None of them were stone map guys, so that was pretty much, well, Rick was. Rick would listen to stone map guys. But it's really important to understand that we don't want to lose that part and that aspect of it. So bringing in the authors, the treasure hunters, the Dutch hunters, that's the main point of it. So, and it's not whether people are legends, it's we want to welcome that group in. And it took a lot of work. I mean, the first year was only 12, 14 people. It took time to get people to understand to come in. Even Tom Collenborn didn't show up for a number of years, few years, because everybody wasn't sure how this was going to work and everybody would get along. But it worked. And the idea is it's great having the general public and people invited and coming in and spending time with us. But it's not about willy-nilly, let's just like open it up to 1,000 people, because then the focus becomes everybody wants to talk to those guys and they feel like they're a specimen on display. And I like the fact Tom used to come out on Thursdays, camp, then stick around a little Friday and then leave Friday evening. Then he started staying Friday evening and it grew more and more on him. So he kind of like kept dipping his toes in the water and seeing how it felt and how it was working. I got the air blowing on me. It's kind of making me kind of phlegm up here. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm joining Brother I'll Help. Yeah, and we always appreciate the help for little help because there's always things that happen. And it's not so much we've done a great job. It's a great group of people because we've never had any problems or anything. So it works out really, really well because of that. If it wasn't for the people involved, the event wouldn't work. But I think for the most part, the big difference is that I don't know what I did there. My phone came on. But I think the big difference is all the people involved and how we kind of like keep the peace. There's people that have had feuds and issues and problems. Jim Hatt was one that I wanted Jim to always come out and spend time with us. And Jim was so worried about he might bring problems into it. He knew it was a good thing. He had been good friends and partners with Clay and Tom and different people for different times. He also had existing problems with some people, and he did not want to bring any negativity in. And I thanked Jim for that, but I still wanted him to come because my point is you walk through the gate. And back then, when we started, my whole point was me and Randy said, you walk through the gate, everybody leaves their baggage. You come in here, you're under our protection. And we will walk. If somebody wants to come in and there's going to be a problem, we'll walk you out. Now, back then, with the forums and a lot of stuff on social media, there were a lot of big feuds, a lot of stuff going on. But every one of those guys came into camp and got along and shared meals and sat around, and it worked. And that was the whole point of it, was to bring everybody together where we could realize you can put all your differences aside, sit around. You don't have to sit there and be negative or anything. You can listen. If you don't want to listen to this guy, go over and listen to this guy. We'll have some guest speakers, and it'll always come from different points of view. And let's just be respectful. And it worked really great, surprisingly. So who knows if it will always work that way, but I continue to do it. Joe Roboto asked me to make sure it went 10 years. And after 10 years, I said, well, I'll get it to 15 and then see. And now we're almost at 20 because I realize I kind of enjoy it. It's a lot of work. I really don't get to enjoy myself, but I get to see everybody. I get to hear a lot of information, and it creates a lot of connections with people. I get a lot of information, not necessarily always looking for the mind, but bringing information for myself, Greg Davis, and stuff on the history and bringing people in to the camp. So that's a big thing. There's several people don't want their names mentioned. They go by anonymous, kind of mysterious names, but they've been at the rendezvous, and I've recognized them, and I know who they are, and I won't refer to them as name. I don't even let them know that I know them, but I do it because it's very, very cool that they kind of come out. And if they want to think they're the secret ninja, that's fine. Hey, by the way, I'm Wayne Tuttle, and I know pretty much everything. Because I'm in the middle of it all. And if you're in the middle of it all and halfway observant, you figure shit out pretty fast. So anyways, but no, everybody's more than welcome. I just never wanted it to blow up. Next year, maybe we'll put a little bit of stuff out at Goldfield and Apache Junction and kind of draw in another crowd. I want to do it also partially because the 100th anniversaries of the Dons for different things are coming up. And I want to do something right by the Dons. So does the dog make you laugh? Well, yeah, because Dexter's trying to eat his foot right now. Do the dogs make you laugh? I don't know. Rocky does. He's silly as crap. He'll fall off a couch. No, dogs. I don't know. Dogs make you laugh. I guess they do stupid stuff and all. But Jax, do you make me laugh? Do you even pay attention to anything I'm saying, Jackson? Yeah, there you heard your name. Do you make me laugh? Huh? I don't think so. I don't think so. You don't have much to say today, do you? No. No. Good dog, though. Good dog. All right. So there you go. Dogs make me laugh. I don't know. We really want to come out, but I have to wait until my health improves. All right. Well, and when it does, we'll still be around. See you on the 18th. What's the 18th? I don't know. What's the strange? Oh, is that the meeting? The Don's meeting? What's the strangest animal you saw in the mountains? That's the Quantum Monday. Great live again. I'm old. Well, I'm getting old too. Quantum Monday, we were down at Fish Creek Canyon. It was me, Tyler, Trevor, and Frank. Trevor and Frank went up on Horse Mesa. They went up a arroyo up in Fish Creek up on Horse Mesa. And Tyler was with me. And I told Tyler, I said, well, we were waiting for Trevor and Frank. We were down in Fish Creek proper. And I said, why don't you go over and walk along the cliff line, because there's certain anomalies, and I'm going to tell you where to go. Why don't you look and tell me what you see, and we'll work both sides of these banks. And we were doing that. And I was asking, what's in that hole? What's in that hole? Is that very deep? How far back does it go? We were checking some stuff off. And then Tyler came down, and I told Tyler, why don't you go find Frank and Trevor and tell them it's getting late. We should probably get our gear together and get out of here. So Tyler took off, and I'm standing there, and I hear something, and it sounds really weird. And I was thinking, that can't be a javelina. But I was hearing real hard breathing and this woof woof sound, and it was really weird. And then this weird looking freaking thing like the Cheshire cat comes like boom, 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 boom out with this big ass tail hanging in the air and staring at me and hissing and whistling. And I was like, what the fuck is that? And I put my hand on my gun, and then I thought, I don't want to shoot it. And then I forgot to take pictures and stuff of it because I was just standing there looking at it. It was bigger than Jack's. It was huge for a Quadamundi, but it was all puffed out and pissed off. And I think what it was Tyler had been snooping around its area, and it picked up the scent, and then it comes out and sees me. And it kind of kept bluffing me. And I just stood there. I was probably about 20 feet away, and I just held my ground, just stood there and just kept talking to it. I figured it would eventually just realize I meant no harm, and it did finally back up. And then just as soon as Frank, Trevor, and Tyler broke through, it turned and left. So they never even saw it. But that was I've had talked to people back in Fish Creek, and they said they run into groups of them back in there. That was the first Quadamundi I ever saw just in person walking up on it. I've seen them on the side of the road driving and stuff occasionally at night and stuff, but they are ninjas. Well, I don't know. He was possibly, but yeah, he wanted me to be scared. I was more just blown away, curious. But that would probably be the strangest thing I ever saw. I mean, there's been some weird stuff. We came up over a hill up at Willow Lake up by Payson, up by Heber. And I crested this hill, and my dog, Cassie, Aussie Shepherd, good dog, was out in front of me, and she was going off like mad. And I was worried, like, oh, she got into it. There's a bear or something. That dog was just like, boom. And I got up over the hill. There was a bull elk stomping, huge thing. And that dog was holding her ground, man. That bull elk wanted to charge, and she was like, nope, not today. And I came up behind her and had to coax her back, and she would back up. There was a lot of working dogs are really smart like that. They won't take their eye off of stuff, and they know how to go backwards, and they'll back up to you rather than turn around, which could be a bad thing to do. But yeah, she backed up to me, and then I got down the hill. But I guess there was probably some cows up there, cow elks, female elks. And I think the bull heard me and kind of got his dander up about that. And then Cassie came up over the hill and spooked him. And yeah, but that dog was not going to. That dog, man, if there was thunder 50 miles away, that dog would freak out. But man, when that bull elk was there, no, that dog was like, nope, you're not getting anywhere. That was pretty good though. That was a moment. Yeah, I remember that. She was a good dog. She was Daddy's girl. Had her for a number of years. Saddest thing about it was I didn't know what to name her, and it took me probably 3 or 4 weeks. She got loose one day, and she was running off. She was only about 8, 9, 10 months old, and I'm like, puppy, dog. It's like, how do you call a dog that has no name? So then she became Cassie. At first, I was going to name her Roxy, and we realized anything that sounded like walk, she recognized and thought she was going for a walk. But yeah, I don't know how I ended up with Cassie. That was her name, Cass. So anyhow, so we're kind of there. We've kind of done our thing, and we kind of got through our hour, which I try to keep these around an hour. I don't know if there's any more questions or anything, but we're getting closer to the rendezvous and Halloween and everything else going on possibly around us. I don't know what else to bring into the rendezvous. I'm hoping all the guest speakers and the people do appear and show up. We got some really few little cool things and things kind of out of the ordinary, hopefully going to happen that will catch everybody. I think everybody will be kind of like pleasantly surprised at some of the diversity we bring in this year to keep the interest and stuff in. I think if you've never been there, you'll enjoy it. I think everyone that did their first year last year really enjoyed it. It's not what you think it is, and that's what makes it so cool. Okay, it's Friday the 18th. Play Halloween theme song. It's Friday the 13th. I don't know. I gotta run, Wayne. Thank you for the hour of entertainment. You're the best legend. You're something. I'm not a legend. I'm not the best, but I try to do well and try to basically fill in the holes of the people that are no longer with us. Eventually I'll be older and then I'll write a book and then you guys won't buy that. They'll be sitting there somewhere. I have a pile of them in the garage and I'll be like, oh shit, yeah, those damn bastards would said write a book and then nobody bought it. Anyhow, see, that's why I don't write a book. I don't got the room to store the books you guys don't buy. Anyhow, buy Jack's book. Looks like this. It says Finding El Dorado. Buy Ron's book. Stop by Ron's place. Tongue in cheek, but actually I thought it was funny, and I mentioned it to Trevor. Is Ron has his gift shop all these books, and I was looking at it. I was going, oh, there's Ron's autobiography. There's Deep Fault. Oh, there's Crooked Mountain. There's this, and I'm looking at all these books and stuff. No Jesse books. And I didn't say anything because I thought maybe they just sold out or something. But anyways, I thought it was funny. I was going to ask Jesse, doesn't your dad love you anymore? He's got the gift shop in the front of the crowd. He's not selling your book. Maybe it was somewhere and I didn't see it. I don't know. And I just saw a whole stack of books and I was looking through it and realized I turned to Trevor and went, hey, look, check it out. Jesse's book's not here. Competition in the family. Yeah, you won't outsell me because I won't put it on the bookshelf. Oh, I love giving them crap. But they're good people, man. So buy Jesse's book, buy Ron's books, buy Jack's book. Just buy the books. These guys make them. It's kind of, they put a lot of love into them, whether you agree with them or not. It's always nice to purchase them for their efforts and for a lot of what they mean to us and stuff. So, and Shoes has his very interesting book, Goldfield, Ghost Town, Boomtown to Bust. It's a very interesting read. And he also has an edition of Thunder God's Gold on the bookshelves in Goldfield Ghost Town. So you can get Bob Shoes's, he ended up with the rights to Thunder God's Gold and he put out a version of that. So that's always very cool and very nice and all that and stuff. So everybody's doing well as far as I know. And I got some updates on some other people. So that was very nice getting to hear how they're doing. Brian Lichtman. I don't know if Brian even checks this stuff out at all, but it always surprised me how much Brian does do and get into. But anyone that knows Brian and all, Brian, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're getting better. And I hope we can see you at the rendezvous and stuff. You're a special person, Brian, and good man to know. So thanks, Wayne, and to the other subscribers. The questions, all that. Joined late. Sorry, I missed the info. When are they going out exploring again? When are they going exploring? Here as soon as possible as the weather turns. We got to wait for the weather to turn for Frank to feel comfortable to go out. We got 2 or 3 things we're setting up right now. I'm already starting to get myself out there, but I'm kind of picking and choosing. And I also got to see how Frank's doing. Frank was very, very sick. He had double pneumonia. He got hit by a scorpion. He keeps saying he got bit by a scorpion. He got stung by a scorpion. So he had everything going on possible. So he's still probably recovering from that. I think he thinks he's pretty good. But we got a couple short things we're going to do, and I'm going to see how Frank's doing. It's another year in the bag for him, but on top of it, he had a pretty rough time this last time. So I want to make sure he's back healthy and ready to go, and he's good. And just know that, no matter what happens in life, there's just certain limitations as the years go by. I realize that with myself. It's very disappointing to me is when I go out with Trevor and then I just realize, oh crap, man, I'm not 25 no more. Frank tries to remind me of that, and I still can do a lot, but I just realize I can tell I'm going to pay for it the next day and so forth. So understand that about the weather. Hope Frank gets better. I think he's pretty good. He's been sounding more like Frank and stuff. Um, I just always seem to call and he's naked in the bathtub. And it's just weird because he seems to make sure he lets me know he's naked in the bathtub, which bothers me a lot. It's like, okay, you didn't have to keep reminding me you're naked in the bathtub. I mean, you could leave that part out and just ignore it. But he always makes a big deal and says, then he goes, I got to get off the phone with you because I got to get out of the bathtub. Well, thank you, Frank. Yeah, so he takes his baths while talking to me. And when he's done with his bath, he quits talking to me, which really kind of like now just seems weird. 25 on the inside. I think I'm 190 on the inside. I feel like I've lived a long, long life. Thanks again for taking the time to do these podcasts and have a great sense of humor. Oh, I always have my humor. That's the one thing that was missing in the TV show, but I think that was fine because the TV show doesn't need the humor, and I try not to bring that to television very much. I think in television, I want the more serious side. Here in the podcast, and when we do the videos for YouTube, I really try to make sure that I keep the humor up and so forth. Hold on, let's just see. Hey, Mr. Trevor, we're live. How are you doing?
I forgot about that.
Yeah, you forgot about it. I'm here live. Are you driving home?
Yeah, we just left NAU.
Okay, well, I'm going to get off the phone because you probably don't want to have the conversation that you want to have with me probably while I'm live on the air.
Probably not. I was just going to say there's a lot of traffic, so I don't know what time we're going to get home.
Okay, so should I go get my own dinner, or what do you guys want to do?
No, we'll probably be back by then.
Okay, well then, okay. I'll see you guys in a couple hours, hopefully.
Okay, have fun with your
All right, bye.
Bye.
There you go. There's Trevor on the road returning from Flagstaff. So I thought that was kind of fun. Man, a little of everything today. Frank's bass story. Hey, you know what? You hang with Frank and Woody, there's going to be stories. You hang with Shoes, there's going to be stories. You hang with Salvador, there's going to be stories. So everybody, there's going to be stories. And I'm very fortunate that the people I call friends are such a wealth of not only information and good hearts and friendship, but they are the wealth of great stories that never end. And I always really, really enjoy that. You know, it's just, I can call Shoes just to say, how are you doing? And then we can be on the phone for 45, 50 minutes talking about a bunch of different stuff. It gets all over the places, and he'll just, it develops when Bob turns and says on the phone, have I ever told you about the time? And then it goes into a whole different place. And I miss that with Rick Gwynn. Rick was at least 2-3 times a week, a phone call that took an hour, hour and a half. And Rick was always talking about different stories. Sometimes they were repetitive, but sometimes there was stuff I'd never heard before. And it was, just sometimes about his life, but a lot of times it was about Bob Ward and his time with Bob Ward around Chuck Crawford and stuff like that. And I loved those stories. So I miss Rick because I loved hearing Rick sit there and just tell those stories. Get the Trevor on the drum sometime and hook up a multicast so we can do the jam. Have you ever brought a dog with you exploring? Yes, I always brought dogs. I had dogs. Jake used to come to the Rendevous. I've always taken dogs out in the mountains. I don't do it as much anymore. When I was by myself, which Tom did as well, when I would be out on my own, I took dogs, and then I would take dogs out in the mountains. And Jax broke into the mountains, and then I don't know what happened. I think it was the TV show because, well, no, the TV show, I lost Jake before the TV show, and I didn't get Jax till after I'd done the TV show. But whatever happened with Jax was I was taking him out. He was getting broken on the trail, but I think it was because we started doing the episode stuff, and I was kind of worried about having a dog out with us, especially around things like the spiral staircase in certain areas, pit mines. And on top of it, we're filming and maybe not paying attention to the dog. I always like to keep an eye on the dog and watch because the dog lets you know if someone's in the area or what's going on. The dog is a great warning alert system. So if there's someone around, you'll see the dog freeze and their head turn, and you can see the ear twitch, and you'll know there's someone down over that way. So, yeah, haven't been taking them out with me, which just is fine. But yes, I used to always bring the dogs, and at least one dog always went. Best treasure Ward found with superstition. Bambi. He found Salvador too. He found Salvador big a deal. and Rick Gwynn. He gave us a lot of people, a lot of things. Um, so there you go. We're going to wrap it up because they're on their way, and I guess I'm going to have to wait for dinner because they think they're stuck in traffic, but I have no idea where they're at. And I'm kind of like now kind of worried like it's going to be another hour or two before I get to eat. And I was thinking when he called, I was thinking, well, that's cool because yeah, they're not going to be here for 2 more hours. Crap. I might as well make a snack. Yeah, I was just thinking, well, I'll run down and get food for me. But then that's going to suck because they're not going to want to pull over, which means, you know what happens later? They're going to send me back out for food, which means I got to go out again. And trust me, once the weekend comes, if I'm not going in the mountains and doing stuff, I hate coming and going, leaving the house. I just want to hang out in my garage. So there you go. Anyways, have you ever climbed, explored the Dragoon Mountains? I've been out the Dragoon Mountains once. Totally agree about dogs when by yourself. Yes, I was out by the Dragoons once. My main areas were the Superstitions, the Weaver Mountains, out towards Yarnell, Peoples Valley and stuff, and the Mogollon Rim. That was a lot of the areas I was in and interested in for many, many years. The White Tanks, the Bradshaw Mountains, I spent a lot of time in. So along and the old, the old Senator Highway going all the way up to Prescott from Phoenix. I spent a lot of time in the ghost towns and the old mines along that road, but Wickenburg and that kind of stuff. So there's only so much ground you can cover. So I know I went in the Dragoons and Chiricahuas and just certain areas, but there were principal areas I spent a lot of time, and definitely during the summers I spent a lot more time up at Mogollon Rim, which I loved spending time up there. But then I also spent a lot of time in the Sierra Estrellas, so I liked it down there. I found some really cool stuff. It wasn't always about lost mines and treasure stories. It was sometimes just exploring and cool stuff I would find. And I loved just climbing and going out and just the views I could get from places. So yeah. So a lot of places all over Arizona. I just was this morning talking to someone about a lot of places out past Peoples Valley and out in the Weaver Mountains and out going towards Wagner and the area out there. So I was talking about some of the old mining cabinets and stuff I found out in thickets and stuff, which I was just out exploring. Actually, back then it was more about deer hunting too, most of the time. It was an area I would deer hunt, and when I was scouting and looking for areas to kind of get away, because what I would do is let the hunters work low, and I would go find higher ground that I could park my Bronco up in, and then go find myself a spot. Because what happens is the hunters will come out and start carrying on, drinking, shooting, and they will push the deer up the mountain to you. And you would sit up there in those draws, and it was always funny to me because I would get up there and I'd get a spot, and then I could look over and see a guy around the corner down the ways he'd wave because he was doing the same thing. We were sitting there kind of watching these draws, waiting for these guys because you can hear them in the mornings with their quads and stuff. They're spooking everything and pushing it uphill. And I will never forget, I was up on Darnell Mountain once, and I was sitting there and I was kind of watching this ravine, and I figured this is where everything's going to push up. And then at some point I turned and I lit a cigarette 10 feet behind me. They were does, but there was like 4 does just standing there, just staring at me. They got up behind me and actually were watching me, trying to figure out what I was doing. And then the craziest part is they never did anything. They stood there forever and then finally just walked off. But I think I got pictures of it from somewhere, but it was the craziest thing. I was like, man, it's just they have no fear and must have an idea and understanding that I only have a buck tag because they don't give a crap that I'm here with a rifle. They did not. So, and I even talked to them a little bit, just kind of quiet and low. They just stood there and they were chewing. And there was actually a younger, probably 6, 7 month old with them. And I was amazed because usually they're very protective and will move away, but I never saw a buck that day. I remember that. Nice chat, and hope you have. Find a snack. Yep, I gotta find a snack and maybe some popcorn. So, anyways, that'll do it for this week. Kind of like we pushed it long, but that's cool. I don't mind it. I'm having a good time and doing that. It was good to see everybody. I got to answer a lot of kind of questions, a little bit off the wall, but I don't know. I guess everything you needed to know about Wayne Tuttle. Anything. But anyways, pick up Jack's book. Hope to see everybody at the Rendezvous November 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And until the next time, enjoy yourself. And that was it. This is a wrap for Legends Live.